Welcome back to the Wizards Lab. Today we're going to continue on to our mapping game, our adventure game, text-based adventure, if you want to get down to what we really want to call him. And we had our full map working. We can walk our map, not walk off into the void. And so we're ready to take our next step as we do this. So we've got our map. That's it. I'm in the way again here. Let me do a little magic again. Ah, wrong magic. Put him back. The other guy. How about him? That's him. Yeah, take me down. There we go. I'm just getting a little ahead of myself. So, no. Alright. So now I'm out of the way. We're going to start looking where we were. We got our whole map working. That's all that work. We can walk around. So first thing we do when we load our map right now, we have our map file, a map.csv file. And once again, what does he look like? This up here. So our locations, our title, our description, and for him also the north, south, east, west parts with ones and zeros. That keeps us for where we want to go. Can we go to these locations, north, south, east, west? No, we can't go this way, whatever. And we want to take items now and put, well, first let's just get them into the game, and then we'll worry about where to put them later. So like we did with the map, we need a file, configuration file that will tell us what items we have. And with that, we've created a new file called items.csv. If you're making this yourself, to make this, we go up under the file, go new, and drop down to file right down here. With that file, we said yes, we want that to be part of the adventure game. And we give it the name items.csv. Cancel that. That's not behaving properly. Make sure you select the project over here first. Eclipse gets stupid sometimes and we don't know what's going on. So come back down here to File. Create a new, down here. It wants it down here for the file name. They put stuff up here at the top, but down here is where it really wants you to put it. Okay, so down here we say items.csv. And this needs to be consistent for everybody. All lowercase, because we're making the game engine, which means the configuration files that everyone else is making, your map.csv file, your items.csv file, and others in the future will be a package that you can share to other people to run in their engine. So if everyone writes the engine using the same map files with the same map file format, you now have new games based off of just different collections of the map files. That's like using the Unreal Tournament engine, or some of the others that are out there of the Half-Life engines, whoever else. You got to do some things in the same format in order to use the engine, and that's what we're going to make. Well, after you're done, hit the finish. I'm going to hit cancel because I already have mine. It'll create an empty file, and you'll see it over here at the side in your area. See? And so once he's over there, he's gonna look. If you see like items.csv right here, it's got this Excel symbol next to it. And when he created it, he's gotta, if you have Excel, he's going to try to automatically open it in Excel. He associates it with other programs at the operating system level, and that's what he's going to try to open it with, whatever you've got. don't let it do that. If it opens it, just close it. Then come back over here in your Project Explorer, it's under the Projects or the Package Explorer. Usually I like the Project Explorer better. Come down, and if you see it here, right click on him, and there's an Open With option. Come up here, and then there's Text Editor. You do the Text Editor, that opens it in Eclipse. So just do it that way, and he comes up here. All right. So what we have in our items.csv file, it looks very similar to our map.csv file. You see there's a number, a comma, a number, a comma, a short string, and a comma, and another string. Come here to the items.csv, number, comma, a short thing, a comma, and a long string. And so yes, same idea here that we did on our map. On our map generated this stuff. Our items need to do something similar. But what this is going to tell us is like a bag of gold. And well, here's the description of that bag of gold. A nice heavy bag of shiny stuff. This 4-3, that tells us where to start this item on the map. When the game starts up, where do I want to put it on the map so I can find it later. And if I look at my adventure map up here, and if I go, wait, if I get bigger, you can't see it. If I go to column 4 and row 3, my XY position, you see this little hollow hideaway. And that's right here. So on 4-3, it's hollow hideaway. That's where I want to start my bag of gold. It's hidden in that area. Then I've got the box of strawberries. It's going to be at location 1-2. So if I look on my map at 1 for X, 2 on the Y, that's the roadside stand. Good place to put a box of strawberries, right? Well, also, if you go further down, you see there's another 1-2. I can have 2 items at the same location, multiple things. So if I take that 1-2, once again, for that, we're at our column 1, row 2, roadside stand. But here is a 0-0. And where's that going to be? Back up here at the city gate where we first start. So 0-0 city gate. There's going to be a shiny dagger waiting for us. A perfectly good pointy thing that somebody dropped. And guess what? If somebody dropped it, maybe we can pick it up. We'll get to that. First, let's put them on the map. Well, for putting it on the map, we have to have some place to put them in memory first. To put it into memory, what are we going to need to do? Well, what did we do with our map? We read each one of these lines in from our file, remember? And as we read them in, there's some place to put them. We had to create a special data structure to hold all these things about that block on the map. We need a similar thing with our data for an item. So we're going to go under here and say File, New, Class, and for that as part of our adventure project, so the name we're going to give it is capital I item. And when we create a new project and we do the things, we were used to coming down here and clicking this part that says, give us the main already with it. But this isn't a fully executable program on its own. So it's going to be used within our adventure. So we do not want that. So unclick him. All you have to do when you do this is type item right up here and hit finish. I already have mine, so I'm cancel. And that gives you, once again, a blank file that will come up. You'll see the public class item and an open and a close bracket, and that's what you'll get. I've already taken a moment to put some things in here, but I'm going to want a title and a description because that's what my file has in it. I look at items.csv. Back over. It's got an X and Y position, but that's not part of the item. That's where the item will be later, but it's not part of the item. It's not part of his identity. So the item's not going to keep up with where where he himself is. Blah, get my tongue working. This item needs to know what he's called and a description of himself. That's the two things in the file. So that's what we're going to create in the item.java file for the class, a title and a description. Now, compared to our map block that we had earlier, go back up to the top of him, see he had a title and description as well. And along with these other parts, we don't have north, south, east, west on the items. Don't worry about that part. They'll have something different later, but we'll get to that. But what we do need is a title and description, just like the map block did. One difference is, let's look at this part right here, private. For our items, oops, wrong part of the item. The items, I've got public instead. And what happened here, remember when we did our map block and these private things, I said that map block is going to protect his data. It's my data. You can't have it. You can't get to it. You have to ask me permission to get to my data. And so with that, we gave set title and get title methods to go with it. And we made those public, meaning the outside world can ask for the title, or the outside world can ask to set the title. They cannot get to these pieces of data directly themselves. Those are private, only within the map block. Well, we're going to try things differently with the item, just to show you different ways of doing things within Java. We're going to go ahead and make the title and the description public. That way you can go straight to it. We can say, Mr. Mapblock, your title is now this. Mr. Mapblock, your description is now that. Or Mr. Mapblock, here's your title. Give it to me. I don't have to ask. I can just go direct. We have the power as the programmer to do whatever we want. So we can do it either way. Mainly this comes in handy if I'm developing a set of classes or something that I might be doing other calculations with, and the end result is really what's important to you. Like, I'm controlling a car, and I don't want you to change the speed directly. They're the driver of the car. I'm the control software for the car. You can't say, boom, you're doing 50 miles an hour. No, I want you to accelerate. You can call a method that says accelerate, which means whatever speed the car is going now, you do whatever you need to do to get the car to that speed. I want to go 55. Take it from 0 to 55. And I do my control software now to go off and do whatever I need, look at sensors, anything else to get it to 55. And when I'm done, I can say, okay, I'm done with that. We are now going 55. But yeah, that's hidden from the user. He can just use an API to do what we need. This one, we're not concerned about anything special happening. We don't need to protect anything within our item class. So if he wants to set my title of my item or get the description of my item, I'll let him do that. All right. So with that, we have a class, a place to store each line of data of our items in our file now. We've got a place for the title and for the description. So if we're going to have these items, we've got to have a place to put them. Just like we did in our map, coming up with a place for our map blocks. Our map is a collection of the map blocks, right? Well, we want to do the same thing now with our items. So I'm going to make of type item, that's our class. I need to make a collection of them, and we're just going to make one single, we don't need a two-dimensional array of items, but we just need one list of items. And we'll call it items. How about that? Real creative here. And that's going to be just like we wrote the line above to make the map. We're going to do the same with our items here, making the necessary differences. Now, here's the trick. Right here, I need to say how many items I can have overall for my entire map. For the game, let's say. Well, what did we do for our map block? We made it configurable in one place so we can change that with saying the maximum number that X can be, the maximum number that Y can be. And where did we set that? Right up here at the top. Right at the start. Anything we may need to change in the future, we can put it right here. So let's do the same for our items. So I can say max items equals, well, what's our maximum number of items? Well, why don't we set that to like 20? And so there we are. Max items equals 20. Now I can use the name of that anywhere else through the code to have, when I'm referencing the maximum thing in my array of items. And if I ever want to change that, I don't have to go change this 20 all through the code to 100 or to 1,000 if I want a really big map. Maybe we want to write something like Minecraft, and instead of having a two-dimensional map block, we change it to a three-dimensional, X, Y, and Z. Now we've got 3D world, and we have a whole lot more things than 20 now. We can just come up here and change it to 200, and anywhere all throughout the code now, poof, we're up to 200, just by referencing max items instead of hard coding a 20. That we'd have to do all through the code then. So we just come down here and say items, new item, array of size, max items. Wow! If I type it right. There, that's better. Alright, so with that, we now have a place to store all of our items. Where are they coming from? Well, just like we did for our map file, right here. I copy him, paste him in. Once again, get used to using Control-C to copy and Control-V to paste. And your best friend, Control-Z, undo. That's oops, I did something I didn't mean to do. Control-Z, get out. I may have covered that in one of my other videos. Maybe Season 1, Episode 2, maybe? Somewhere back there. And let's see. But instead of a map file, guess what we have this time? How about an item file? This is just to get the items. And what was the name of that one? Not map.csv, but we look up here at the top, and it's items.csv. So there we go. That's where our items are going to be coming from. So we have how many items, the file that they're going to load from, and then the place to put them. Now we just have to get them there. This is the function we called earlier in order to get the map blocks from the map file into the map. So why don't we just copy him, put him down here, but instead of a map file, we're going to do what? Our item file, and we're not going to put it into the map. We're going to put it into items. Now notice he says, wait a minute, that doesn't exist. The method init string map block is not applicable for arguments, whatever. Wait, yeah, items, it's not a map block. Save, just to be sure. Okay, so it said we can change it to something with a item. Oh, yeah, we don't want to change our thing to that. What we do want, wait, why don't we just go ahead and create a new method to handle this? That makes him happy. And when he did that, he created a new guy right down here for us that automatically puts our interface in here with it, the things we're going to send with him. So we're going to say, take this item file and load that data into this item array called items. And how do we do all of that? It says, hey, to do, here's the stuff you need to go do here. Well, basically, we styled that file pretty close to what our map file is like. One reason for doing that, it is so similar, I'm just going to take everything I did in the previous init function and paste it into this initialization function. Control-C, Control-V again. And so now, we're going to go through this one step at a time because there are some changes we'll need to make because it's not the same file. It is a little different and it's not going the same place. But it should be easy to change. Alright, we're still going to split by the comma. It's still a comma separated value file. We're still going to read it one line at a time. So we're still going to try. Once again, this is because we're handling a file. There might be something wrong. We might not have the file. Something else might be wrong with the file. Something like that. So we can't just say, go to the file, because then if it's not there, it crashes, right? So we're going to try. And if it fails, it's going to do the catch. It's going to give, oops. Something was wrong, we catch it, it keeps the entire program from crashing and gives us a chance to go do something different in case there was something wrong. So the try. First thing we're going to try is we're going to go to our file reader and say, give me access to this file. Well, which file? Well, it's not map file anymore. It's the item file. So we change him to item file, just like what we called him up here, call him here. So that's where those two link. So that gives us access to the file. Then we're still going to use the buffered reader, adds extra on to the file reader to prepare our data for us. We're going to do the same kind of while loop until we reach the end of the file. It's going to read a line, take that line and stick into the string line. Okay. If it doesn't find one of those, meaning it's at the end of the file, at the end of the file it returns a null, which will kick us out of this while loop. So that's where it says not equal to null. So as long as it's not equal to null, it means it got another line of data. Now, what are we going to do with that data? We're going to read it in. All right. Well, we've read it in right here. He's in line. We're going to take that line right here. We're going to split that line. This is a, see that line dot split. Line is a string, and there's functions for strings pre-programmed for us. Thank goodness. Yay. That we take, hit that dot, gives us access to that function called split. And he asks, well, what do you want me to split them by? Well, I just happen to have a string that I labeled split by, so it's easy to remember what it's doing, and that is the comma. Are we going to use the comma? Well, what type of file is items.csv? Well, that's CSV, comma, separated value. That comma is separating the values, so we're going to separate the pieces of data that we read in by the comma. Takes those, splits them up, puts them into an array of strings with 0, 1, 2, 3 going as the first piece of data before the first comma, the second piece of data, the third piece of data, the fourth piece of data, wherever those commas were, separating them out. Important thing to do, if I am writing my description, this is where people sometimes have oopses, both in their map file and in here. As they're creating their descriptions, they want to do some nice proper English, writing, comma, comma, this and that. Don't put a comma. Comma's going to throw it off into the next piece of data, and you'll wind up with information that you meant to be a description in your map file winding up in the column that's supposed to have ones and zeros for your walls. So be careful with your commas. They only separate these. Should you need something that would normally have a comma, such as right here, nothing to see but a turn, nothing to see east or west, we may have, writing an English paper, we might put a comma here. We're not writing an English paper. We're writing a Java program. So I like to use ellipses, meaning period, period, period. It's the same point across. I do that all the time in Facebook posts or whatever anyway. So I'm not a fan of using commas everywhere. I use these little ellipses. So get used to seeing my kind of style writing. You can use your own style of writing, just don't use a comma. Create a new one. All right. So that splits the line, puts it into an array of data. Off of that, what's in those first two positions? Here we see data 0, data 1. And those are our X and Y positions where we want to put the pieces of data. So we can keep the X position and Y position for now, but we're not going to use them quite yet. That'll be the next video. So we do this, we get X position, Y position, we still go ahead and parse them out. And because they're integers, we talked about this in the last one, call a special function for the integer. These are strings. I can't stick a string straight into an integer. These have to be integers because we're going to use them like when we access our map here. The indices of our arrays have to be integers. So these have to be integers. As it's a string, special function, we say, Mr. Integer, use your function called parseInt upon this string, convert him to an integer, and then stick him in this guy. So hopefully you get all that part. We discussed that in the last episode. All right, so once we have those two, this part we're not doing. We don't have to worry about these parts because we only have a title and a description left. But we're not doing anything on map. Who are we doing this to? We're storing them in our items array. So we will have items sub something. I have to get back to that. Which item that are we adding to here? What will be the first item? 0. Well, how do we know we're on 0? We better keep count. And if he's going to be that, he's going to be used as an index, but we also use him to see how many items we got, so we'll know. So we start with this 0. Got to come down here. So he accesses that item, and we're going to say item sub item count dot Ooh, if I hit that dot, look, I have access now to two different things. The title and the description. And it's the title right there that I want. And I can set him directly to be whatever's in data 2. So unlike the map one I had to say, hey, Mr. Map Block at this location, set your title to data 2. The items, because they are these data pieces are public, I can access them from here rather than having to ask and beg and plead with the class to set its own. So item count, not title, is that. What is our second piece of data that it's reading? Well, technically it was 0, 1, 2, 3, index 3. The second piece of data of our item. We've got our title. We need our description. So, items, sub item count. So the same guy here got his description equals what? That third piece of data. That's the equivalent of what we did there. We do that until we're all done, and then we close. Remember, if you open the refrigerator, here with opening a file, when you are done with it, you'd better close it. Because Mama doesn't like it when you leave the refrigerator open. Operating system doesn't like it when you leave a file open. So if you open it, you better close it. So if you open it at the start, close it at the end. So once again, that should read everything in. To make sure, we're going to use our little debugging print statement. And I'm going to say, it's not a block we're adding, it's going to be an item that we're adding. And it's not map, there we say, what is it? Items? Not, no, items. Sub item count dot title. All right, so he's going to tell me which one he did. Now, after he does that, what do we need to do? Well, if we just added a new item, we better increment our count. So that next time around, we grab another item, we add him into that new place, and we increment the count. So that way we keep adding into that array all the way down. And let's see if I've got another guy here to show. That was our map blocks. Anybody else on the list? Items.png. There we go. So this is what we should wind up with. I'm going to put my map back. No, stop that. Oh, yeah. Except you. Let me find my. There you are. Come loose. Over here. And go back to adventure over here. All right. So when I'm done, I should have read into my array of items. So at 0 position, I should have a bag of gold. And let me pull him up over here. Should have a bag of gold with his description, a nice heavy bag of shiny stuff. The second one, index number 1, should be box of strawberries, a small box, but red strawberries, whatever the descriptions is. We should have our shiny dagger and our old wagon wheel. That's what we should have in memory in our item array. Called items, if you see up here, what he should be. All right. Well, let's see what happens. Oh, wait, there's one more thing down at the bottom. we did our try. We got to do our catch for an IO exception, such as file not found. That's going to be your most common. And if you're getting file not found, right here, wait a minute, he doesn't know who map file is. Remember, this was copied and pasted from the method that's doing the map file. We need to update him to match who we are using now. Item file. And now I've checked my edge over here. There are no more little red thingies. So we're going to save all. Let's see if we run and see what happens. Oops, null pointer exception in init. Why do I have a null pointer exception for data sub 2? Or is it because we don't have an actual, let's see, items sub item count equals new item. See if that solves that problem. Yes. Before we can actually stick something into it, when I declared items previously, it kind of goes and reserves some memory, but he doesn't really create each individual item in that yet. So that's, we have to say this line right here, create a new item at that location. And we got to stick our data into it. Okay, now, next one, create another new item at that location. Put data into it. So once we do that part, then we can go and run him. And look what we get. We added item, bag of gold. Item added, box of strawberries. Item added, shiny dagger. Item added, old wagon wheel. And we can say, hey, wait a minute. Let's make sure if we go into our debug. Yeah. Don't know why he decided to actually ask that all of a sudden. He's been working just fine, but Microsoft updated something in the operating system, so we had to reset him. All right. We pull him back up here. Go back to our adventure. And let's see. I'm actually going to put a little breakpoint right here. Double clicking in this little column over there. Let's see. Let me get bigger real quick. I couldn't reach him. I need to reach him. Okay. So in this column over here, if I come down here and double click in that little margin, see that's really, oh, let me come back to that screen here. If I come back over here, there, and double click, you see this little blue dot that comes in. That's going to tell it when you run in the debugger, stop right here. And then let me see what's in memory. So I'm going to let him load the data and then stop right there before he closes the file. All right, so debug. And remember my decision, switch to him. All right, so whoop, he loaded the things. You'll see here in console, we've added, but he's not giving me my other prompts yet. But he does give me this part right up here. So I can see the item file, items. That's my big list of stuff, right? It's got this little arrow, which I can drop on him, and I can look down here. Here's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way down to 19. Wait, did I tell him 20? Oh, look, it starts with 0. If I have 20 items, remember, an array goes from 0 to 19. So that's what I'm looking at here. And if I look, starting at number 4, they're all null. Nothing exists there yet. Why? Well, how many were in my file? I had 4 to add, and it should add them 0 to 3. So look over here. 0, 1, 2, 3. I look at 0. There's a title and a description. Title, bag of gold. Description, just what we expect him to be. We look at number 1, my box of strawberries. Number 2, shiny dagger. Number 3, old wagon wheel. All right, we've loaded all those into the file, and we're ready for the next step. We've got to put those onto the map now, and that'll be our next video. So we'll see you there.